There is a strange shock when you realize that something you thought belonged to movies or distant criminals is actually close and ordinary. It does not arrive with drama. It arrives quietly through a screen late at night. That shock is not only fear. It is confusion. Because it forces us to look at people we recognize and ask uncomfortable questions about how far ordinary anger can go. To understand this, we need to step back and look at the setting. The internet has given us distance. Distance from faces. Distance from consequences. Distance from the effort once required to do serious harm. In daily life, many actions feel real because they are hard. You have to show up. You have to look someone in the eye. You have to take risks. Online, those barriers fall away. Messages feel light. Payments feel abstract. Words feel private. The surface idea here is that the dark corners of the internet allow terrible services to appear. It sounds like a story about technology gone wrong. A secret place where criminals gather. That is the easy explanation. But it does not hold for long. Because what appears in these stories is not a world full of professional villains. It is a world full of everyday people using extreme language in moments of intense emotion. The hidden assumption many of us carry is that violence comes from a different type of person. Someone clearly broken or clearly evil. Someone easy to spot. This assumption comforts us. It draws a clear line between us and them. But the reality revealed here quietly breaks that line. The people placing these requests had jobs, families, routines, and reputations. They paid bills. They went to work. They argued with partners. They worried about money and status and loss. And in private, they crossed a line they may never have imagined crossing before. This is where the deeper pattern appears. When systems make extreme actions feel simple, people are more likely to consider them. Convenience does not create desire, but it lowers resistance. In the past, causing serious harm required effort, risk, and exposure. Those barriers forced reflection. They created moments to stop. When those barriers are reduced, reflection weakens. A typed message does not feel like an irreversible act. A digital payment does not feel like blood on hands. This gap between action and consequence is dangerous. It allows emotion to travel further than intention. Think about everyday examples. When sending a message online, it is easier to be cruel than in person. When commenting anonymously, it is easier to escalate than when your name is visible. When canceling plans by text, it feels lighter than doing it face to face. These small differences matter. They train us to underestimate impact. In extreme cases, that underestimation becomes catastrophic. Another pattern appears when control is threatened. Many of these cases grow from personal conflict. Divorce, custody, power, money, pride. Situations where someone feels they are losing ground. Losing identity. Losing authority. When people feel powerless, they search for ways to regain control. Sometimes that search turns dark. Not because they want violence itself, but because they want the feeling of order restored. The idea of removing another person becomes a twisted solution to emotional chaos. This is not about money or crime networks. It is about control. The technology simply provides a fantasy of control without immediate cost. This reframing matters. It shifts the story from a tale about secret hitmen to a lesson about human psychology under pressure. The danger is not only the service being offered. The danger is how easily normal frustration can be redirected into irreversible choices when systems make it feel safe and distant. This also explains why warnings were not believed at first. The story sounded impossible because it clashed with our assumptions. We do not expect harm to look like that. We expect it to look obvious. Yet the most disturbing part is not the sight itself. It is what happens when someone is told their life is in danger and cannot believe it. The mind resists because the idea does not fit the world it knows. This resistance shows how deeply we rely on our mental models. We believe danger comes with signs. When it does not, we dismiss it. This has implications for safety, trust, and communication. It also shows the weight carried by those who choose to intervene. Telling someone that they are a target is not heroic. It is heavy. It risks disbelief, anger, fear, and denial. It forces another person to confront a reality they never asked for. Yet without that intervention, harm could unfold quietly. This brings us to the role of responsibility. When institutions hesitate, individuals sometimes step forward. That is not ideal. It is risky and imperfect. But it reveals a gap between what systems are built to handle and what reality presents. Law enforcement often requires clear evidence, clear jurisdiction, clear crime. Emerging digital harms do not always fit those frames. This creates delays. In those delays, people remain vulnerable. Over time, collaboration improves. But the gap teaches us something important. Our systems move slower than our tools. Ethics often lag behind convenience. This gap is where harm grows. The application to daily life is not about fear of the internet. It is about awareness of escalation. Notice moments when anger feels justified and options feel narrow. Notice language that turns people into obstacles rather than humans. Notice when distance makes thoughts harsher. These are early signals. They appear in small conflicts long before extreme actions. The presence of tools that promise easy solutions can amplify them. Choosing to pause is harder when the system encourages speed. Choosing to talk is harder when silence feels safer. Choosing to ask for help is harder when pride is involved. Yet these choices are where prevention lives. Another everyday lesson is about control. Trying to control others often backfires. It increases isolation. It deepens conflict. The desire for control is human. The refusal to accept loss is human. What matters is how we respond when control slips. Do we adapt or do we escalate? Healthy systems provide ways to process loss without destruction. Unhealthy systems offer shortcuts. The optional deepening here is about proximity. The closer we stay to real people, the harder it is to dehumanize them. Face-to-face conversation slows thought. It introduces empathy. It complicates simple stories. Distance simplifies. Simplification makes extreme ideas easier to hold. This is why communities matter. Why mediation matters. Why spaces for conflict resolution matter. They keep human complexity present. As the digital world grows more powerful, this lesson becomes urgent. Lower barriers change behavior. Not for everyone. Not always. But enough to matter. The final reflection is not meant to frighten but to ground. The unsettling truth is not that evil hides online. It is that ordinary emotions can travel further than we expect when systems remove friction. Recognizing this does not mean distrust everyone. It means take human vulnerability seriously. Especially your own. So as you move through moments of anger, loss, or fear and notice how easy it is to act at a distance, ask yourself this one quiet question: what pause or connection could help me choose differently before a line is crossed?